Доброго дня. Okay, so hello, dear participants of our project. Now we continue our series of lectures, Digital Society and Democratic Governance of Digital Technology, that we deliver within European Inclusive Education for Digital Society, Social Innovation and Global Citizenship project, which is co-funded by the European Union and our university, Karazina University. Is a partner of this project and is in this consortium. And today, our lecture will be devoted to the topic of legal regulation of combating cyber threats and ensuring cybersecurity in the EU. It will be the overview lecture. And if you want to get more detailed information, in the end of our lecture, I will also say several words about the course that will be delivered within our university. So our lecture will be devoted to several main issues. Today we will talk about approaches to defining the concept of cybersecurity. Then briefly we look through concept and classification of cyber threats. And then we will talk about concept and stages of EU cybersecurity policy development and legal instruments of the EU cybersecurity policy themselves, so about the legal regulation. And first of all, of course, we need to say that with the development of the internet and the technologies that serve and control it, we are moving into a new digital age. And this transformation is different from any previous similar transformation. Advances in technical fields such as language processing, machine and deep learning have markedly improved the processing and use of social media, the Internet of Things, cloud computing, and etc. And these advances have certainly improved the way companies, organizations, governments, societies as a whole, and the daily lives of individuals work. And these improvements have also created some new challenges. And one of the main challenges is, of course, security. And the security of the new digital age, also known as cyberspace, yes, is called cybersecurity. So, cybersecurity is essential for the success of the digital transformation of the economy and whole society. And the EU is committed to an unprecedented level of investment in ensuring that people, businesses, and public authorities have confidence in digital tools. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of connectivity and Europe's dependence on stable network and informational systems, and the need to protect the entire supply chain. Reliable and secure network and information systems are particularly important for actors who have been on the front line of the pandemic, such as hospitals, healthcare providers, vaccine manufacturers, and so on. Coordinating the EU efforts to prevent, detect, deter, mitigate, and respond to the most severe cyber attacks against such organizations could prevent loss of life. Furthermore, enhancing the EU's ability to effectively counter cyber attacks contributes to the development of a global, open, stable, and secure cyberspace. And cybercrime, in its various forms, poses an increasing threat to the EU. We will talk a little bit more today about cybercrime. Cyber attacks, such sexual exploitation of children, online fraud, and complex crimes and manifest themselves in different typologies. Offenders continue to demonstrate a high level of adaptability to new technologies and societal developments, constantly increasing cooperation and specialization. And cybercrime has a wide reach and causes serious damage to individuals, public and private organizations, as well as to the EU economy and security. At the year 2022 diverted the world's attention from the COVID-19 pandemic to Russia's invasion to Ukraine, which, among other things, put the issue of cybercrime, cyber threats, underground back on the agenda and further intensified the issue of cybersecurity and countering these cyber threats. The law enforcement agencies, activists, criminal groups have revealed known truths, confirmed assumptions, and provided information about the internal working of business structures as well as the threat actors who run them. The instability in the region has led to displacement of cyber criminals operating in Europe, creating opportunities for law enforcement agencies to arrest high-level threat actors who were previously out of their reach. So you see that the problem of ensuring cybersecurity and countering cybercrimes, of course, they are very relevant. And first of all, we need to understand what is cybersecurity. Yes, what is the concept of cybersecurity? We can say that the problem is that cybersecurity is an enveloping term, and it is not possible to make a definition to cover the extent of the things cybersecurity covers. It was stated by ENISA, Agency of Cybersecurity of the EU, in the paper that is called Definition of Cybersecurity Gaps and Overlaps in Standardization. And they said that it's extremely complicated to develop a cybersecurity definition which can encompass of information technology fields and the enormity of cyberspace. The other problem, even as it was explained in the mentioned paper, even the correct spelling of cybersecurity is controversial and differing. Some publications, for example, use single word cybersecurity, you see it on slide. Others prefer a term consisting of two words, cyber security. So there is no anonymous approach to understanding the concept of cybersecurity. Here you can see a lot of different approaches to it. Yes, and if we use the terms, yes, the concept that ENISA suggested us. So in the light of the above consideration, we can sum up all the elements in the following definition. Cybersecurity shall refer to security of cyberspace, where cyberspace itself refers to the set of links and relationship between objects that are accessible through a generalized telecommunication network and to the set of objects themselves, where they present interfaces allowing their remote control, remote access to data, or their participation in control action within that cyberspace. And this definition proposed by ENISA using a contextual definition, because cybersecurity is a broad, yes, and evolving term, arguing that various opting for a specific definition can allow for maintaining clarity. Stakeholders, policymakers should select definition that fits their particular needs in specific context. Cybersecurity shall therefore encompass such called CIA paradigm for relationship and objects within cyberspace, and extend that same CIA paradigm, I will tell now about it. What does it mean? To address protection of privacy for legal entities and to address resilience. This paradigm, CIA paradigm, was presented was introduced, yes, in 1977. And what does it mean? C, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality means that confidential information and data should be avoided from falling into the wrong hands. Yes, confidentiality refers to access, operation, and disclosure of system elements. Integrity, it means that information and data must not be damaged or edited by a third party without authorization. Integrity refers to the modification, manipulation, and destruction of system elements. By the way, integrity is also important to ensure the creditability of information and data. It is important to have mechanisms in place to detect any illegal modification of data or unauthorized attempts to edit. And this may include intrusion detection systems, data signatures, and backups to ensure that data can be recovered in the event of an integrity breach. Availability, information and data should be available at all times, and adaptive recovery mechanisms should be in place to restore the system and the services provided by the system. Availability refers to the presence, accessibility, availability, and continuity of service of system elements. So we see that some definitions of cybersecurity focus on technical aspects, while others emphasize the importance of risk management, strategic planning, and cybersecurity management at the organization level. And summarizing these approaches to the definition of cybersecurity, we believe that it should be understood as a state of protection of cyberspace and cyber infrastructure from unlawful external and internal interference and negative impact and misuse of information and system. And now let's go further and let's look through the concept and classifications of cyber threats. To ensure cybersecurity, you need to keep abreast of new technologies, security trends, and threat information. The first step is to understand what information could be valuable to an outside party, and then how they can access it. Let's analyze, yes, cybersecurity threats in more detail. So, what is cybersecurity? Cyber threats. Cyber threats are actual or potential factors that create risks to the state of cyberspace security at various levels for the state, for an individual citizen, for society, by violating the principles of access and use of information, and interfering with the proper operation of information and computer systems. So, what types of cyber threats we can name? Just I have a lot of them in this presentation, but of course, it will be like brief overview of them because more detailed information you can get in our course, because there is a special topic for this. So, backdoor. Backdoor is the method of bypassing normal authentication or encryption in a computer system, product, or embedded device, such as router, for example. The next very popular threat is denial of service attack that we usually call DOS attack. It's a cyber attack that aims to shut down a machine or network, making it unavailable to the end user. And DOS attacks are usually divided into two categories. The first is buffer overflow attacks, a type of attack in which a memory buffer overflow can cause a computer to use all available hard drive space, memory, and so on. And this form of exploit often causes slow performance, system or server crashes, and lead to denial of service. Flood attacks, also very popular. It's like denial of service, and it is caused by the fact that the offender deliberately saturates the server with an extremely large number of packets, which affects the service capacity. In order to increase the number of successful DOS attacks, attackers must exceed the server bandwidth. Also, we can name attacks. A direct access attack is a cyber attack carried out through social engineering, where an attacker gains physical access to computer to modify it, copy sensitive information, or install malware or ransomware, such as WannaCry. Then eavesdropping, Eavesdropping, it's when an attacker listens to private conversations between hosts on a network. Phishing is also quite popular. It's an attempt to obtain confidential information such as passwords, usernames, or credit cards directly from an end user. Social engineering is a process of gaining the trust of users to persuade them to reveal secrets such as passwords or credit card numbers by impersonating their bank, contractor, or even a customer. Spoofing is an act of impersonating a real person by forging information such as an IP address, username, or email address to gain access to an application or data. Tampering is a malicious modification of a product to gain surveillance capabilities or access to protected data. Typo squatting is a form of cyber squatting where someone sits on domain names that look similar to those of another brand of copyright, targeting internet users who type the website address incorrectly in their browser rather than using a search engine. Vulnerability is a flaw in the design, implementation, operation, or internal controls of software, hardware, or data that could lead to a data breach or disruption of services. Malware is any software code or computer program written intentionally to cause harm to computer system or its users. And one more. It's insider threats. They are threats that originate from authorized users, employees, contractors, business partners who intentionally, accidentally misuse their legitimate access or have their accounts hijacked by cyber criminals. Of course, it's one of classifications. Yes, there are a lot of them in different scientific works and analytical works, so it's one of the approach. But besides this, yeah, they are mostly technical threats, yes. But except this, we of course need to talk about such threats like cybercrimes. And in paragraph 14 of the report of the Committee of the Second 10th United Nations Congress in 2000 on the prevention of crimes and treatment of offenders stated that there are two categories of cyber crimes. First, cybercrime in the narrow sense, like computer crime. It's any unlawful act committed through electronic transactions, the purpose of which is to overcome the protection of computer systems and the data they process. And cybercrime in a broad sense, computer-related crimes, that is mostly commonly used, It's any unlawful act committed through or in connection with a computer system or network, including such crimes as the illegal storage, offer, or dissemination of information through computer systems or networks. And of course, we need to look through the Convention of Cybercrime, yes, of 2001, and additional protocol to this convention concerning the criminalization of acts of racist and xenophobic nature committed through computer systems, yes, because these international treaties, they are the part of the EU legislation. And if we are talking about convention of cybercrime, there we can find four groups of cybercrimes. The first group, offenses, crimes or offenses against the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data and systems. And these are such crimes like illegal access, illegal interception, data interference, system interference, and misuse of devices. The second group in this convention, it's computer-related offenses. And here we have computer-related forgery and computer-related fraud. The next, the third one, is content-related offenses. And here we have offenses related to child pornography. And the last one is that is offenses related to infringements of copyright and related rights. The same, yes, we have in this group. And then we have this protocol. Yes, this protocol was adopted in 2003, in 2 years of the adoption of the convention. And also here we have one more group of cyber crimes or cyber offenses. These are acts of a racist and xenophobic nature committed through computer systems. And here we have a lot of variants, just 5. Yes, first of all, it's dissemination of racist and xenophobic materials through computer system. Then we have racist and xenophobic motivated threat, racist and xenophobic motivated insult, denial, gross minimization, approval, or justification of genocide of crimes against humanity, and aiding and abetting. So these are the offenses, yes, that are cyber crimes according to the Convention of Combating Cyber Crimes, and of course this is a part of legislation of the European Union. And now, of course, we need to say several words about the concept and stages of EU cybersecurity policy development. Yes, in order to go further to the legal instruments of this cybersecurity policy that are the normative legal acts, yes, according to the topic of our lecture. So, the EU's cybersecurity policy is an important component of the EU's security policy at all, yes, as a whole, and it aims to protect against cyber threats and cyber threat attacks, as well as to ensure security and stability in cyberspace. And we can say that the EU is constantly analyzing potential cyber threats, including attacks on infrastructure, cyber espionage, cyber terrorism. And this stage includes assessing and identifying threats that could harm the EU interests. The EU uses various sources and resources to assess potential cyber threats. This may include analyzing information on known cyber attacks, intelligence, feedback from cybersecurity experts and other sources. And the assessment helps to understand what types of threats exist and how serious they are. After assessing potential threats, the EU identify specific factors that could harm the EU interests. And this includes identifying possible sources of threats, methods of attack, targets, and objects that may be potentially vulnerable. And the EU continuously monitors cyber threats and updates its assessment and identification based on new information and developments. And this allows it to respond to changes in the cyber environment and adapt its cybersecurity policy in a timely manner. And cooperation with other countries and international organizations is also an important part of this process, as cyber threats can be transnational and require joint efforts to identify and count them. So, based on their threat analysis, the EU develops a cybersecurity strategy and policy. And today we will talk about 2 cybersecurity strategies. And this policy includes setting goals, principles, and priorities of cybersecurity, for cybersecurity. The first step is to set specific goals that the EU wants to achieve in the field of cybersecurity. These goals may include ensuring the protection of critical infrastructure, raising awareness of cybersecurity among citizens and businesses, and strengthening cooperation with other countries. Cybersecurity policy contains principles that define the general approach to achieving these goals. These principles may include transparency, proportionality, cooperation with other actors, application of international norms and standards. Cybersecurity policies also set priorities for actions and resources. For example, certain actors or infrastructures may be recognized as more vulnerable and receive more attention and resources under cybersecurity policy. And the EU can adopt legislation that regulates aspects of cybersecurity and sets standards and obligations for actors open operating in cyberspace. Yes, and we will talk about this legislation, the second part of our lesson. Legislative means are an important, extremely important component of cybersecurity policy of the EU. Then the EU creates institutions responsible for cybersecurity. And within this course, I also have one topic. All the topic is devoted to this institution. It's ENISA, CERTs, and joint cyber units and other institutions. So, for example, the EU Cybersecurity Agency, ENISA, is responsible for the development and implementation of cybersecurity policy. Also, cybersecurity policy includes mechanisms for cooperation between member states, other international partners, and executive measures to implement the policy objectives and principles. And the EU cooperates with international organizations, its member states and private actors to ensure cybersecurity. Coordination is important for an effective response to cyber threats. The EU works with all its member states to share information on cyber threats, to develop common cybersecurity strategies and plans, and to coordinate responses to cyber incidents. And the EU actively cooperates with the intergovernmental organizations such as the UN, OSCE, NATO, and so on, to ensure global cybersecurity. And such joint initiatives and information exchange help to respond to cyber threats. Private companies and other non-public actors play an important role in cybersecurity. And the EU works with them on joint projects to protect infrastructure and share information and identifying threats. And the EU is developing partnerships with other countries and regions to join forces on a global scale to combat cyber threats. And of course, the EU implements its cybersecurity policy and conducts ongoing monitoring to evaluate the effectiveness of measures and identify new threats. After adopting a cybersecurity policy, the EU starts implementing specific measures and programs to achieve the defined objectives. And this may include the implementation of technical solutions, staff training, raising awareness of cybersecurity, etc. The EU conducts ongoing monitoring to determine how effectively the cybersecurity measures have been implemented. And this includes assessing the level of infrastructure security, detecting cyber incidents and their consequences, and analyzing cybersecurity-related issues. And when cyber incidents occur, the EU responds in accordance with its procedures and policies. And this may include joint responses with member states and other international partners, as well as measures to stop incidents and restore infrastructure. And lessons learned from monitoring and experience in responding to cyber threats, of course, they can serve to adapt and improve cybersecurity policies, to adapt new normative legal acts, yes, and new procedures. And the EU can make changes to its strategy and measures to take into account new challenges and new threats. And the EU's cybersecurity policy is constantly improving and adapting, as we said, to changes in cyber threats. All these steps, they are very important to effectively protect its interests in cyberspace and contribute overall cybersecurity in the regions. And the EU cyber policy is constantly evolving to respond to new challenges and threats that accompany rapid technological development and growing cybersecurity requirements. The EU cybersecurity policy is an important component of security and stability of cyberspace. And it includes, as we mentioned, the stages of threat analysis, strategies development, adoption of legislation, cooperation with other actors, and continuous monitoring and updating. The EU cybersecurity policy includes various legal and regulatory instruments designed to ensure security in cyberspace and combat cyber threats. And now we will talk about several documents, yes, several legal normative acts that help us understand cybersecurity in the European. What is cybersecurity ensuring? What is combating cybersecurity threats? And where the problems can appear? Yes, the problems with ensuring cybersecurity can appear in what spheres? I can suggest you to look through several documents. Yes, of course, we can find more, of course, but they are, I think, the main, yes, that regulate all these actions of the European Union within ensuring cybersecurity and countering cyber threats. So we will talk about European Union cybersecurity strategy. We will talk about both of them. The first one, yes, and the second one. Then we will talk about directive, NIS Directive 2016 and NIS Directive 2022, Network Informational Security Directive. Of course, we need to pay attention to General Data Protection Regulation Act. Yeah, GDPR, I think you know it. Digital Single Market Strategy for Europe, Digital Services Act, Data Management Act, Artificial Intelligence Act, regulation establishing a framework for European digital identity, European law on protection against cyber information, or another way to call it, law on cyber resilience. Regulation on the digital operational resilience of the financial sector. Crucial infrastructure resilience and repeal directive, and EU Cyber Solidarity Act. Some of them, they are absolutely devoted to the cybersecurity issues. Some of them, they have some issues connected with them. Yes, because when we are talking about, for example, digital single market, of course, we understand that a lot of problems, yes, a lot of threats can appear there. Or when we are talking about how we deliver services, yes, digital services. So that's why we also need to take them into the consideration when we are talking about cybersecurity and when we are talking about countering the cyber threats. But now I suggest you to stop this session and start another one, because we are limited in time. I have 40 minutes left. So use the same link, and we will start from the first document, from the first cybersecurity strategy. We will start analyzing. So use the same link, please.